see the stage, hear the vibe. Pumped up to get ready for the fight. Big dreams, one chance, be the star. I'm the winner coming out of the dark. No fear, getting ready for the ride. Yeah, stepping into the light. No limit, aim high. No limit, the price is mine.
Step out as a motivator. Let them know that the weight's up. That's how we know when we level up. Ay, that's how we know when we level up.
Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up.
Back against the wall, still I'm standing tall. Know about the ball, I got my fan with me. All we know is ball to empty out the mouths. The chosen one they call. call, I take my fan with me. Know about it if you tell, know you're breaking codes. Want your credibility and all fall like dominoes. Can you really take a stance? All I wanna know. Need me real ones when it's time to go. Stepping in, elevator. This is to all the haters. That's all we know when we level up. Yeah, that's all we know when we level up.
Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up. I found out I'm not alone, 'cause I'm just like you. There's no failing when we fight. We're not afraid to. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ESL Mobile Open Finals. I'm Inverum, joined by Firum, and we're back once again for Asphalt 9 Legends. Another season is coming to a close, and now it's time to do, frankly, my favorite bit, Firum, and that's to crown ourselves some champions.
Yes, thank you so much, Paul. It is great to be back, and we have some amazing races for you today. We're going to be seeing the top 4 players on iOS and the top 4 players on Android, both competing for the champion of their platforms. Got a ton of races and a ton of amazing laps today.
100%. And what's cool about this, too, is if you're just jumping in, you're like, wait, we're here in the finals. Wait, what's going on? There have been competitions going on for weeks to lead to this point, and not just for this game, across a ton of different programs. That's really what the ESL Mobile Open it's all about. It's all about giving players an opportunity to compete in mobile esports. Players who maybe never thought that that was really an option for them. We give them a place to try it out, start out as an amateur, work their way up, and hey, a lot of the players we see competing in pro leagues for our various mobile games started here in the ESL Mobile Open. There's a lot going on this season, not just here, but around the globe. So let's take a look exactly how it all works. Welcome to ESL Mobile, the home of mobile esports. ESL Mobile is a global program designed to give you an opportunity to compete in your favorite mobile games, featuring multiple game titles, taking place in 3 regions and offering 2 levels of competition. There's something here for everyone. ESL Mobile Open is the gateway to competitive play, free to join and open to any resident of our supported regions. This is the best way for you to enjoy the thrill of victory and take your shot at winning cash prizes. Each season of Mobile Open will consist of 2 ladders, and the top competitors from each will qualify for the Mobile Open play-ins. ESL Mobile Challenge is your path to glory. If you are a top competitor in the Mobile Open play-ins, you will earn a spot in the Mobile Challenge season. The top team from each ladder will skip the play-ins and qualify directly for the Mobile Challenge season. This is where you'll have the chance to compete against the best players in your region. At the end of each season, top Mobile Challenge players will compete in the Mobile Challenge Finals to determine a winner and be crowned their region's champion. ESL Mobile is for everyone. This is your opportunity to join a diverse and growing community of players across the world and see just how far you can go. It's all about pushing the limits here in the ESL Mobile Open. See how far you can go and how fast you can go, specifically here for Asphalt 9 Legends. You touched on it earlier, Firum. We're doing things a little bit differently this time around. iOS is going to compete against iOS, the top 4 players there. Android competing against Android. And basically what this means, at the end of it, we'll have 2 champions. But what it really means is that we'll have more races in store for all you folks at home. And that's really the part that I am most excited about. Let's take a look at our first leaderboard, our first ladder, I should say. It's all about iOS and the top 4 players who've made it here.
So we're taking a look at our iOS leaderboards where we have Frog facing up against Quiet Riot and then Eason facing up against Yogg Saron. Actually, some of these players, you may not recognize their names, but Frog and Yogg Saron are actually returning from previous seasons. Frog being Pulsar and Yogg Saron being Wildhair. So if you know anything about those guys, you know that these are going to be some crazy races that they do.
Yeah, these are players who have been able to put up incredible performances in seasons past, looking to repeat it here again. I want to note, of course, this is a single elimination bracket, so if they lose one of these first matches, they are down. They will compete in our 3rd and 4th place match, but that's their only shot here, starting off with best of 3s and a best of 5 grand finals. So without further ado, let's get into our very first race here. Let's get into this very first matchup. It's Frog versus Quiet Riot. Firam, take it away.
We are now with Frog and Quiet Riot on New York City. Pulsar, or Frog as he is here, pulls out a little bit of a lead at the beginning with an early Nitro and takes the yellow Nitro, but Quiet Riot, she does not take that yellow Nitro. So she is opting to take a bit of a shorter racing line throughout, and then Frog is doing more of the, going for more Nitro. And, with this car, I think a lot of times you are actually able to not go for the Nitro as much because its efficiency is just so good.
And that's one of the many different things these players have to juggle. When they get these tournaments, when they get these races, it's all about the track. It's all about the vehicle, different routes you can take, different tricks you can do, depend on the vehicle that you're using. So, of course, having that Nitro, trying to maximize the efficiency on that is critical. We'll see if it ends up paying off here for Quiet Riot, though. She's a little bit far behind now. I have to give her props. She hasn't really let Frog extend this lead now, basically staying in exactly the same spot. Still on their screen, so not insurmountable by any means. But what this means for him is that Frog needs to play a perfect race. He can make no mistakes.
That is definitely true. While Frog got ahead, Quiet Riot is definitely still within distance of him, and one little mistake could mean the difference. This means that if I were Frog in this race, I would definitely be playing it quite safe. He has no need to go for any crazy tricks that Quiet Riot might want to do to be able to catch up to him. And it looks like that is what he is doing, just drifting around and using the shockwave to his advantage and just really not doing anything that might even give him a chance of wrecking, because he's right ahead at this point.
That's exactly it. A wreck at this point would be disastrous. It's all about doing exactly just the bare minimum to stay in the lead right now. And of course, don't get me wrong, he's still putting up an absolutely amazing showing here, but I have to give props. Again, this lead really hasn't extended all that much. Maybe a quarter of a second Frog's been able to extend here as we're turning around these final few corners on this last lap. It looks like this is going to be all she wrote for game number 1, approaching the finish line, the first checkered flag for Frog, and there it is.
And that is a win in our first race for Pulsar. He got the early lead, was able to keep it, although Quiet Riot did not fall too much further behind. Both players playing very well in that race, I would say.
Yeah, and again, I don't think that the whole race by any means was make or break on not taking a single Nitro boost by any stretch.
Sure.
But it's still interesting to see just how those sort of subtleties occur. And what's great about it is over the last few weeks, you've actually been showing us some side-by-side breakdowns, some run comparisons, and just goes to show how the tiniest change to a run, the tiniest decision that a player makes, or the tiniest mistake can cost them big time. Because when you're dealing in tenths or hundreds of a seconds, every little bit counts. Let's get into race number 2, though. Let's not keep anybody waiting any longer. Firm, let's get into it.
So now we're again with Frog and Quiet Riot on Osaka. And again, Pulsar pulls out the early lead with that early Nitro boost. Both of them taking these turns, which is quite easy with this car. So the car that we're using, the Cayman, it's not the fastest thing, but it can get around the turns like almost nothing else. And it looks like Frog and Quiet Riot are taking very similar routes, both going through the middle, taking the short lines. But again, Frog's early Nitro at the beginning really paying off so far.
Yeah, continuing to get off to that early lead, and now it comes down to being able to maintain it. That's what this is all about. Quiet Riot still has them in their sights. Frog is blazing a blistering trail, though, continuing once again, just not play this too crazy, just having a good line, not going out anywhere too bizarre. And I have to say, this has been very clean racing for Frog so far.
It certainly has been. I mean, we have not seen any kind of even knockdown attempts or anything like that. Frog is just trying to get that early lead, maintain it, and he is doing absolutely wonderfully with that, with some crazy 360s right there, heading into the second lap. Although with Quiet Riot being closer to Frog than she was in the very first race, heading again into the twisty parts of the track, where both of them, again, get through without any problem at all.
Oh, no issue at all. Just chaining those blue boosts together. Frog still has this lead. And I have to say, though, those 360s, the way they're able to chain them, I'm floored right now. But this is so interesting to me. Quiet Riot has not let Frog extend this lead. This is identical. This could be, we could have just replayed the first lap over and nothing would have changed. Just goes to show Frog being able to take that early lead, that early little bit of aggression that we saw in positioning and posturing is paying dividends right now. Because able to maintain this lead. And unless something dramatic happens here, this is going to be it. Quiet Riot needs to make something happen right here because we're going to be coming up on the end of this race in just a little bit, and this could be a 2-0.
That is definitely true, and there is a part toward the end of this race which sometimes can mess up some players. We'll see how Frog does it. Okay, so he goes over to the left this time and is able to take the victory here. Again, he has found that using that early nitro is the key in this car in particular. Some cars it's not, this car it is, and I think we will continue to see that in his races throughout here. But yeah, he takes the second race and he takes the match.
Does indeed, takes match number 1 over Quiet Riot 92. We'll have a chance to see in our third and fourth place match. But who are they going to go up against? Who is going to fall in this next race? Who is going to advance on to our grand finals? That's the question here, Firam. As Eason is taking on Yogg Saron, and I have to have my eyes on Yogg Saron. You highlighted a bunch of their races over the last few weeks, and they are terrifying.
Oh yes, Yogg Saron in the 2 of the 4 qualifiers got the first place on iOS, and he is definitely a force to be reckoned with. Again, Wildhair, we've seen him in previous seasons. Same guy, different name, and I really think we are going to see some maybe a bit more aggressive racing from him. That seems to be his style in a lot of the qualifiers, but it does change up a bit, going from, events trying to just beat a time to true head-to-head racing.
I think that's such an important thing to note here, folks. When the players qualify for this event, they do it as a time trial, just them and the clock. But here now, they're up against another human, and you can wreck each other. You can demo each other. There is the opportunity to bump into one another, maybe cause a little bit of friction. Well, I expect some clean racing here, though. I do expect as we get into match number 2. But hey, nothing is out of the question, Firam. Let's get going.
Match number 2, first race, Eason versus Yogg Saron. Electing to take slightly different routes at the beginning. Oh, maybe not so much. They both go for the shortcut at the beginning of this track, drifting around the turn and then shockwaving up the first ramp. But Yogg Saron doing it just that little bit better. It looks like Eason maybe struggling a little bit with his speed getting through the tunnel, although he does not get the barrel either, so he's falling a bit behind. But this is a track with many areas where you could make a mistake, although Yogg Saron, he is just booking it around those turns.
Blink and you miss it. Yogg Saron is just out of there. Eason had a slightly line issue at the start of this race. His nose bumped into a wall just a little bit. I think it sort of threw him off just a touch. And Yogg Saron, I said, dangerous. I said, this is terrifying. It was the terms that come to mind because he is ruthless in how he seeks out these lines. And you can just see the muscle memory kicking in time and again. Yogg Saron pretty much impeccable. Some of the best racing we've seen here on iOS. Definitely a player to keep an eye on. And I can't even see him from Eason's POV.
Yeah, he's like barely on the map up there. That's insane. So now we have to think, okay, is Yogg Saron, are they even within a wreck distance? I don't know for sure, but Yogg Saron, again, going for the slightly risky route at the beginning of the shortcut. Yeah, I think we're going to see Yogg Saron continue to do some of the more risky plays, maybe just trying to extend that lead just in case he does make a mistake, with Eason maybe trying to do some safer ones and banking on a mistake from Yogg Saron. But it does not seem to be happening so far.
And little things that I'm noticing is Eason's nitro efficiency has just not been quite on par with Yogg-Saron.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the way Yogg-Saron, every single time he hits one of these ramps, shockwave every single time. Eason hasn't been able to do that. He's been so close, but hasn't quite had the full bar, get that shockwave exactly where he needs it. And it's been costing him time and again here, just letting this lead that Yogg-Saron is building for themselves continue to extend. As we round these final few turns here, I don't think there is any chance of Eason catching up.
I do not think so either. Yeah, Yogg-Saron has been perfect pretty much with the shockwave. He hits the wall around the turn, but Eason hits a wall too. But Yogg-Saron goes up the final bar, and oh, was that a wreck by Eason? I think Eason wrecked back there. And so Yogg-Saron is able to easily pick up the first race of the match. That was insane. He was just able to keep that nitro all the way throughout it. And I think, honestly, that was one of the biggest differences between the two players. Eason, he just wasn't able to keep the nitro and keep the speed up the ramps as well.
Yeah, that's one of the things I noticed is it's so rare to look up at the top of the screen and not see a nitro bar that's at least half full for a lot of these players, the way they're able to garner nitro back to back. But I looked up repeatedly and I'm like, is my screen broken? What's going on here? Like, what's with this POV? Because he didn't have the nitro nearly as well. And I think, again, maybe a slight bump at the start, throw off the line a little bit. Oh, it's okay. Shake it off. If you're Eason, shake it off. This is still a best of 3. You still have a chance to come back. Let's get into race number 2. Let's get this going for him.
And Eason does pull ahead at the beginning of race 2. I think he used that early nitro trick, and they're taking different routes here. I mean, so Eason takes the faster route through the pyramid, but it doesn't actually pay off for him, as he stumbles a little bit coming out, and Yogg-Saron, while taking a slightly slower route, takes it very well and is able to make it around the turns with his shockwave again. Seems to be his very signature tool, just being able to stay in shockwave all of the time. And we've just seen some amazing racing from him so far.
I mean, this is wild. Again, Eason goes up almost to the point of hitting these shockwaves, and that's the difference. Yogg-Saron is just not afraid to just hit the purple every single time, and it's continuing to extend it. The 360s are there as well. I got to give props, though. Eason not quite as far behind as we saw in that last race, but we'll see if he actually makes an adjustment going to this next lap, because you said before, it appeared that Yogg-Saron took the shorter route. However, he came out ahead. How much of that was down to pure execution, or maybe Yogg-Saron's doing it in a way that we maybe haven't seen before? We'll see if Eason makes a change here, or if he's going to continue with the tried and true.
And
this time it looks like they're both taking the same route.
Wow, yes, Eason, after seeing what Yogg-Saron did in the first lap, decides to take the left route. And I mean, I don't know if he's closing a lead, but he is still definitely within distance of him. If Yogg-Saron makes any mistake at all, you know, it's over for him in this race here. So Eason, I mean, that's what he has to bank on at this point. Yogg-Saron, though, he knows that he's got this match if he just plays very cleanly, you know, doesn't lose a lot of speed on any parts. And so I think that's what we'll see throughout the rest of this race. He's not really going to try to do anything super aggressive.
I did actually see a couple of small errors there from Eason, taking one turn, hitting the wall, but not doing so in a way again, in the way that's going to allow you to maximize that speed. And because of that, Yogg-Saron not looking back at all, even hits off the wall as well to get that last second of additional airspeed. I mean, talk about min-maxing. We wandered into GDQ because that was a speed run.
That was absolutely crazy. Yogg-Saron, I mean, he was hitting everything in that lap. I mean, I guess he knew that even taking the left route toward the beginning there, which, you know, is typically known to be a little bit slower, especially in cars like this one, but he executed it perfectly. It is a little bit safer, so he has, I believe, a very good, you know, balance of the two. Plays safe when it really matters, but plays aggressive when it could really help him a lot.
And I think even playing a little bit more aggressive than we saw Frog in the first. Frog got that lead, and then again, just the bare minimum, all the right things and nothing more to stay in that lead. Whereas Yogg-Saron, it felt like wasn't hesitating to, hey, if I can pull off this additional speed trick, if I can get that additional 1/10 of a second, I'm going to do it. And hey, that's the kind of mentality that I'm looking for, as somebody who wants to go all the way and become an ESL Mobile Open champion, which works out because I actually got a chance to sit down and talk with Yogg-Saron earlier. Let's take a look at that.
Hey, Yogg, thank you so much for joining me. Congratulations on making it once again to the finals here of the ESL Mobile Open. Obviously, not your first time here in this competition. You're a veteran at this point. But what was it like competing in the Mobile Open this season compared to maybe some previous seasons?
Well, different car, like, will come. It's S-Class car, so it's way different. It have floated drift and better speed, but the Cayman have better handling. It's easy to drive.
For sure. Definitely some differences in the specifics of the vehicle itself, which of course is going to affect how you approach every single track. Talk to us a little bit about that. What's your process like? I know for a lot of players, how they set up their route is very important. What's that process like for you, just sitting down and figuring out exactly how you want to approach the run?
Well, I have my friend Stein, so I usually practice with him in a lot of races. So he scored a lot of top ones in ESL as well. So he knows the roads. So he helped me a lot.
For sure. Having somebody in your corner, a teammate or a friend to help out has definitely been a consistent trend we've noticed here in the program. Just you racing on the course, but there's a lot of folks behind you that help make it happen.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of players that are looking to continue to get involved in a game like Asphalt. We saw a lot of new players competing this season. What advice would you give to those new players who are looking to take their game to the next level and really race competitively?
Well, one thing is important is nitro management and, stay in the air as long as you can. But, 360s actually, if you can avoid 360s, it's the best one. But sometimes it's very quiet.
It's all about those tiny little tricks that add up and really shave those seconds and tenths and hundreds of seconds off your time, because we know how important that is in a competition that is this close. But again, congratulations on making it here to this point in the tournament. Any final shout outs before you say goodbye?
Well, thank you, Stanix, and thank you all for watching and playing Asphalt 9.
Love to hear it. Thanks to all the fans out there watching for sure. Congratulations on making it to this point, and best of luck in the races.
Thank you.
And you heard it there. It's all about the little things. And after watching those races back, I kind of understand what he's talking about there. And look, I know looking at this next bracket, going to this race for third and fourth place, Firam, that's going to be on the minds of both of these racers coming into this. It's all about doing the small things well. Leave it all on the line now. This is a third place match. You got nothing to lose.
Oh yes, I really think this is going to be a close one too. And I really think this is the time where we might see some more of those risky plays too, because, Quiet Riot and Eason both played relatively safely in those races, but, now they're racing each other. We'll have to see how that dynamic changes things here.
Look, a little bit more prize money in your pocket. I want to get on that podium. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get into it here. Quiet Riot 92. Eason starting things off. And whoa, okay.
My.
Starting things off well. Eason, I think, didn't hit that barrel exactly like you planned to. And Quiet Riot, whoop, alley-oop right over the top.
Yeah, Quiet Riot just landed right on top of him, which I think slowed Eason down a bit. And Quiet Riot is just, again, with that shockwave, Eason struggling a little bit with the nitro management, perhaps. And they are coming into a section of Shanghai, which may trip up some players. However, in this car, they do it pretty well. Eason, though, again, hitting the sides a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, Quiet Riot is just extending her lead by a good bit through here. Although Eason, again, not too far behind, but maybe having a little bit of trouble with that nitro.
Yeah, that line through that section, I remember you covered that in one of your recap videos. Thanks again for doing those. It was
That's
great.
right.
It's all about that line. It's all about getting right on. Basically, you can hit this perfect straight line right down the middle, hit the gold nitro right there in the center. It's definitely something these players to keep an eye on. It's all about getting those sick drifts around these corners as well. And Quiet Riot doing it pretty much to perfection, straight into the shockwave. Eason will follow suit, but Quiet Riot has been able to maintain the lead. Doesn't get the perfect three.
Whoa.
Okay.
That was a crazy physics thing. What happened there? I have no idea, but Quiet Riot is able to pull it out. I think they quickly figured out what was happening. If they hadn't have pressed brake in midair, they might have landed on their top and it could have been GG there. But Eason is catching up a bit. He's able to keep that full bar of nitro throughout, taking those short racing lines. We'll have to see what happens when going through this tight section on the second lap. And this time they both do it nearly flawlessly.
That was exactly what I was looking for. Eason able to get the follow-up on the blue, and then the gold. It's really, really nice. But of course, Quiet Riot was able to do it as well. She has still been able to maintain this lead. And what this is showing me is time and again, Firam, the first few seconds of these races have massive implications.
That has been exactly what's happened so far. Whoever has gotten ahead in the beginning has typically ended up the victor. That's a pattern I've been seeing in these races, and I'll be interested to see if that continues. As Quiet Riot, they both are coming up toward the end of the second lap. Eason catching up maybe a little bit, but Quiet Riot getting a good final turn and ramp and taking the victory here. That was quite a close one. I mean, both of them, again, both very good players. Quiet Riot was able to get that little bit of advantage at the beginning of the race, like landing on top of Eason, which was absolutely crazy, and it lasted throughout the rest of the race.
I would say both players were given just a teeny bit of a gift. The fact that Eason didn't get wrecked as the car landed may have still had the invulnerability. I don't know. It came down to the wire, maybe just how they landed. And then Quiet Riot not wrecking, sort of hitting into the roof, the turnstile, whatever that was there, hit the brake correctly, was able to land on all 4 tires. And both players able to overcome some adversity there, but Quiet Riot still taking game number 1. Let's get into race number 2, though. Let's see who will be crowned our 3rd place finisher. It all comes down to this. Who can take this early lead?
Race number 2 on Mountain Pulse, the same track as we saw in some of the qualifiers. So both of these players should be quite familiar with it. Again, Quiet Riot taking a bit of an early lead, but Eason right behind her. I mean, just a few car lengths away. There's a few different things that you could do on this track. Quiet Riot electing to take the 360s so that she has enough nitro to shockwave up this ramp, but Eason not letting her get away in the slightest. I mean, it's right on her tail.
Yeah, Quiet Riot had a better line right off the rip, was able to force Eason out just a little bit, though, but Eason gets a lot closer to the ground. They've actually been able to make up a little bit there, because sometimes going high in the air, as much as we talk about airspeed, isn't always necessarily what you want to be doing, Farum.
That is 100% true. If you go way too high on a ramp, you can lose a lot more speed than if you go below. So typically, you try to go toward the middle of the ramp on a lot of them, and that will give you the best speed. And it looks like that's what Quiet Riot's been doing. Will they try the thing in the tunnel? Okay, Eason does, and he succeeds. He succeeds with the shortcut in the tunnel. Quiet Riot not taking it because she's ahead and doesn't need to, but Eason taking it because he's behind and wants to do everything he can to catch up. I think both of them played that part very well, did exactly what they should have done.
Eason hit a pretty good line with it, but the way he was sort of thrown around in the air a bit did end up missing the gold nitro, which was a little bit unfortunate. We've seen some of the absolute best players be able to hit that wall bounce trick and then come back right on where they need to be, but still, props to both these players. Quiet Riot doing this a little bit different, not opting for the 360, misses both blues as well, so isn't going to have necessarily the same level of nitro hitting into that ramp, so opting to go a little bit safer now that they have the lead. But Eason full bar right behind. What can they do to
Ooh, he tried to go for that first ramp but missed it. Did hit the second ramp though, and does a 360. That might have been accidental. We don't really know, but Quiet Riot taking the ramps pretty much perfectly. Eason, let's see. I bet you Quiet Riot's going to not take the shortcut, and Eason might do it again, if what I'm seeing is correct. Let's see if that's right. Yeah, Quiet Riot doesn't do it. Eason does. Let's see if he does it a little bit better this time. Yes, he is able to.
Oh, no!
Oh, no, he still missed the yellow nitro. That's going to cost him coming toward the end here.
Ah, so unfortunate. And Quiet Riot just playing it exactly how she should. Gets out to that early lead and doesn't let it go. Absolutely solid racing there from Quiet Riot 92. Eason, so close. So many small moments there where things just could have gone a little bit different. A couple of maybe miscalculations, some tiny errors. And at this level of competition, Farum, you have to be perfect.
Yes, you really do. And you have to be willing to take those risks when it matters most. Eason did do it in that race, but Quiet Riot wins 2 races and therefore wins the 3rd place match.
It does indeed. And I have to say, if that's what's in store for us in just the 3rd place match, this grand finals, it's going to be absolutely wild. We're going to head to a short break. When we come back, we are going to crown our champion for the iOS leaderboard. So don't go anywhere. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the ESL Mobile Open Finals. I'm Inverum, joined by Fearum, and we're here for the grand finals for iOS, for Asphalt 9 Legends. We've already seen 3 fantastic matches so far, but I think, Fearum, this is the one we've really been looking forward to.
Oh yeah, that's definitely true. So we've seen so far Frog pull out the first one and then Yogg-Saron the second one, both winning 2 races inside their match. So all of the ones so far have been only 2 races, but coming into the finals, we have a set of 5 races for our final match. So it is first to 3 in this case. So that'll be really interesting to see how it goes. I think it's going to be super close.
Look, we've had 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. I'm hoping for all 5 games.
Oh, yeah,
I want to
me
go
too.
the distance. So let's see as we get into race number 1, who will draw first blood? As we get into our grand finals here, it is Frog taking on Yogg-Saron, or as I've lovingly called it, Frog-Saron.
Yes, that is like the perfect name for them. And Frog, he's really coming up close. Took a slightly longer line at the beginning, but then takes the ramp over to the left. These players are right next to each other. They could knock each other down if they really wanted to, but it looks like they have decided to play clean. Frog getting a little bit back, but shockwaving instead of 360. Then, oh my goodness.
Whoa!
Oh my, they hit each other in the air, and Yogg-Saron with the shockwave knocking down Frog. That, man, that's the first knockdown we have seen so far, or the first, like, really big mistake at all. And Yogg-Saron still doing those speed tricks.
I mean, it ain't over till it's over. Some small mistakes can still happen. Frog is still trying to take this back, but wow, both those players were neck and neck, side by side, bumper to bumper. I don't have any more similes, and all I know is that that's exactly how I wanted to see this race progress. Both players in midair. What happened was Frog got forced out on the yellow nitro. He had to take a slightly different line, so while Yogg-Saron was 360, he opted to shockwave straight on through, came down, and then they both hit the ramp. One straight off, the other hitting barrels. And that's when disaster struck. But, Fearum, though it may look bleak here, it's not over yet.
It certainly is not, and I don't even think that knockdown was intentional. I think it was just they happened to be right next to each other. You know, that does happen in multiplayer sometimes, but it has given, oh no, Frog Rex. And so,
all right, now it's over.
man, he's pretty far behind at this point. You know, anything could still happen, but right now it's looking pretty good for Yogg-Saron heading into the tunnel on the second lap. Although he does bump a few walls a little bit.
Yeah, and Frog, I think just back the third time? Yeah,
Well, Frog
I think he's
having a little bit of trouble there.
So this is what I was a little bit concerned about. One wreck like that, you can shake that off. That's something that you can overcome, but still, the nerves are going to be a huge factor here. A second wreck in the third, that to me is almost, I'm not saying it's tilt, but I'm not saying it's tilt. Frog cannot let this get to his head. Both of these players are veterans. You may not recognize the name, but they have been competing in mobile open competitions quite a while now. They know what's on the line. They know what's at stake, and Yogg-Saron is continuing to put up a pretty darn solid performance here as well, extending the lead. And I think at this point, if you're Frog, it's just a go next.
Ooh,
okay.
He even took a really risky barrel at the end. If that had failed, he probably would have still won, but I think he may have been a little bit overconfident at that part. However, it still worked out for him. And Frog, he's down 1, but there are still 4. I mean, there could be 4 races left to go. Yes, potentially 4. He still has a big chance to come back and knock this one out of the park.
As we go into race 2, yeah, we think everybody wants to win the first one. Everybody wants to be up 1-0, but it's not the end of the world. This is the opportunity to tie it up. I'm looking out at Frog taking a very early lead here, has been able to establish a slightly better line. So how the tides have turned now. Let's see what Yogg-Saron can do playing from the back.
And Frog doing exactly what he's been known for, just using that early nitro at the beginning. Boom!
Oh.
Wow! And then Yogg-Saron using the shockwave, able to go up and then get a shorter racing line, but then he goes a longer way. Then this is just crazy. They're going back and forth at the beginning, but Frog has pulled out a little bit ahead. He's about half a second ahead, if I might say. And, you know, he really has to play it safe at this point, but if there's anything that he could do to extend his lead, he definitely wants to do that because he knows, I bet, how dangerous Yogg-Saron really is. Coming right up next to him, oh my goodness, I thought for sure that was going to be a knockdown of some kind.
Both of them, they just traded places to what is going on? They are on
This is the
top of one
craziest race
another.
ever.
This is insane. This is the closest, most physical racing we've seen in, well, now 7 seasons of Mobile Open competition. This is nuts. How has nobody wrecked?
Yes, that is absolutely insane. Yogg-Saron maybe getting just a little bit flustered, hitting the walls at a few points, although Frog doesn't get the barrel, giving Yogg-Saron a little bit of a chance to catch up a bit closer, taking all the nitro bottles to get that shockwave. And, you know, at this point in the second lap, it's looking very similar to how it was at this point in the first lap. Frog a little bit ahead. He really has to play it safe at this point. I think that Yogg-Saron is going to try everything he can to catch up because he is not going to let this go without a fight.
And this is the exact portion on that first lap. The Yogg-Saron was able to do just that, able to creep back millimeter by millimeter, but they're flying by the seat of their pants right now. Yogg-Saron needs to try and close it out here. Needs to try and find an advantage from one ramp to the next. Hitting the 360 as well. We're coming up on the end of this.
Close.
Keeps it going, but Frog can't hold on to that lead. 1-1 in the set. Frog not saying die.
He completely nailed that. I mean, after that first race, you know, it'd be very easy to get flustered, but he completely held it down, held it through all of the second lap. Yogg-Saron definitely not being without a fight, catching up very close at the end, but it was just enough for Pulsar. You know, that early lead again, coming into play here. He loves to do that.
Look, my heart is pounding just watching this. I can't imagine what it's like for the racers in the moment trying to deal with this. Let's keep it going. Let's get into race number 3. Let's keep the adrenaline high. Let's keep the hype train rolling. Frog, Yogg-Saron, who can take that lead?
And Frog does it. Wow, he again gets ahead at the beginning. It is currently 1-1, so this race won't decide it. If either of them wins this race, the other one still has a chance to come back. We could very easily come down to 5 total races here as Frog again takes a slightly different route, takes an early lead. They both shockwave up here to get some airspeed and are able to go up this next ramp without much of a problem. But Frog, you know, he knows that if he wins this race, he only has to win one more, and he's got it. And Yogg-Saron knows that too, so he has got to play a bit more risky, I think.
Yeah, we're sort of seeing that. Yogg-Saron weaving in some interesting 360s, trying to maximize the nitro as much as possible, but Frog has just been able to play just a smidge cleaner. And you can see just that airspeed both these players are getting. They are rocketing around these corners. Really nice play. It seems like Yogg-Saron tends to favor these 360s a little bit more.
Ooh, and he gets onto a long route.
Yeah, you think that's intentional?
I don't think so. I think he was aiming for the ramp but missed it, and now Frog is several seconds ahead. Man, this is absolutely crazy. So now Frog really, you know, he has to be careful. Yogg-Saron probably feeling, you know, a little bit maybe bummed out about that, but, you know, no matter what happens in this race, there's still going to be more, and either of them could still win. Frog, though, playing extremely consistently in here, and he is not letting Yogg-Saron gain any ground on him at all.
I mean, Frog has already wrecked multiple times over the course of this series so far, so you cannot get complacent even for a second, because the second you do, that race will slip right out from underneath you. As I say this, though, Frog is looking to be in a relatively good spot. Yogg-Saron's been able to close the gap just a smidge here, but still, Frog has a sizable lead at this point, looking to go up 2-1 in this set. Despite a, I'll say it, disastrous game number 1, Frog has been able to rally, has been able to recover, keep the mental game in check, and is going fast.
Yes, we are really seeing quite the comeback here. Yogg-Saron able to get the ramp that he wanted to on the first lap. He gets it on the second lap, and as they come to the finish line, there's not really much more he can do though, and Frog comes in to take the victory. in this third match. So now we are up 2-1 Frog. He's won two in a row after, yeah, as you said, quite a disastrous first race for him. But he's really come back, and we'll see if he can do it for a third time or if Yogg-Saron will fight tooth and nail in this fourth race here.
I mean, we're on match point now. Tooth and nail. That's what it needs to be as we get into race number 4. Yogg-Saron needs to leave it all on the table. Take us to race number 5 or leave in second place. Let's see what happens as Frog once again takes this early lead. Can Frog keep it? That is the question.
Yes, because Yogg-Saron is not letting him get very far ahead at all, and then passes him on the rim, gets a slightly lower barrel, which in this case was definitely to his advantage, does not 360. Oh, but then Frog, he uses a speed trick, so he goes up a bump on the wall to gain some airspeed. Not much, but it is, it could make a big difference in the overall scope of the race. It's all the little things just coming together. But here, Yogg-Saron just a bit ahead. He has to win this race if he wants a chance of winning on iOS, and he is definitely going to do anything he can to keep this lead. I would not be surprised if they get close to each other again, if we see some kind of knockdowns, because this is really coming down to the wire.
It is indeed. Frog, I think, has been able to close that gap ever so slightly as we're heading into lap number 2. Yogg-Saron just needs to try and hold on to this lead that he's garnered for himself off the back of a fantastic pass and a slightly better line. 360s coming in from both players. They're all just trying to take the advantage. A little bit later shockwave from Frog, but still can't seem to close the gap. Yogg-Saron by an inch is still ahead, but it's anyone's game. Once again, the shockwave to come through, but maybe one too many 360s there. I felt his speed start to dip.
Yeah, I felt that too, and he has definitely closed the gap though. Pulsar, the one who played safe before, is now using more speed tricks than Yogg-Saron is. I mean, he knows that it is extremely important, so I definitely can see that. Closing the gap and then taking a much tighter inside, and it is completely coming down at the end. No! And then, he goes a bit too far to the left, wrecking on the rocks, giving Yogg-Saron the victory in this one. But you know what this means. We get our 5th race. It is now 2-2. Pulsar could have won that, but Yogg-Saron was right behind him. Maybe even bumped him a bit.
He passed him. He took this sick line. He came off the right side of the ramp, hit the barrel, was able to cut closer back in. Yogg-Saron was going for more of the straight line. He gets the shockwave up. He passes him. He's just off this ramp, and the top of his car just a little bit of paint just on the side of the cliff face, and it was enough to send him tumbling as we got our wish. Just enough. Game number 5, race number 5 in our match point here for the grand finals. Let's go. Let's get into it. The winner of this next race will be crowned our iOS champion here for the ESL Mobile Open Spring 2021. Fearum, let's get after it.
Because this is the final race of the iOS finals. Frog, so they decide to take different routes. Don't know if that was completely intentional. He may have tried to land on Yogg-Saron, but he comes out a little bit ahead. So Yogg-Saron is, so what happened there was Yogg-Saron tried to 360 to get some more. Oh my goodness. He flies out of the track. Frog narrowly avoided a knockdown by being in shockwave, and that's honestly why he's ahead at this point. And then Yogg-Saron falling out of the track, being a little bit behind. And all that Frog has to do now, keep the lead, not make any mistakes, and he's got it.
I mean, it ain't over till it's over. We've seen some ridiculous things happen so far, but it felt to me that both players were looking for the knockdown. They started this race off aggressive. This whole series has been pretty darn physical, and I felt it there. I think Yogg-Saron was actually forced onto it. I don't think that was intentional to start this race, forced out onto the center street. He literally was like, it's hit a wall or go right, because Frog is there right at my side. Let's see. We'll see here in just a few seconds, depending on what route Yogg takes. And yeah, that was not intentional in that first lap. So that says so much about the amount of pressure that Frog has been able to exhibit onto Yogg-Saron over the course of this race.
Oh yeah, you have to know what to do when the line that you were intending to take becomes impossible. being pushed out or anything else that could have happened, you have to have a contingency plan. You have to have another route that you can do on the track. And he's been able to do it, but not really being able to make too much ground on Frog, who is coming up to the final big turn of the race, having a very clean just race overall. And this is going to be an absolutely insane comeback.
I mean, Frog wrecked 3 times in the opening race. How much of that was just, it's over, whatever? Who knows? But after an insane comeback, crazy series of wins, almost winning in race number 4, letting it slip through his fingers, said, no, not for this last one. I will do whatever it takes to win. And win he did, becoming our iOS champion here for the ESL Mobile Open. Congratulations to Frog. Absolutely stellar gameplay. And I would say, Fearum, definitely the most physical race or series we've seen yet.
Oh yes, for sure. They were just battling back and forth there. We saw some knockdowns. I do not think they were intentional, but they definitely helped determine the outside. Yeah, they may have been a little bit intentional. Maybe a little bit in there.
Let's look back. We'll see.
They were looking for it for sure.
For sure. I think it was definitely on their minds as we look back at some of the highlights, Fearum, because there were definitely a lot of wrecks in this series.
There certainly were, because at this part of the very first race, Frog, he's forced to go off to the left, hits Yogg Saron in mid-air, and Yogg Saron had Shockwave, causing him to get knocked down, and then wrecks on the second lap of the race again. And, you know, the first race, it seemed like it was all over for him. Then Yogg Saron taking the crazy little trick at the end, and then coming into the second lap, we saw another real battle. These were some of the closest races, all of them, of the entire season, with some just incredible turns, incredible speed, and incredibly close parts where I thought for sure somebody was going to get knocked down there.
How are they still standing? Just absolute insanity. And I think what's crazy is just like how they're both like weaving back and forth on the tracks. It's like we're showing a beautiful tapestry of speed from both of these players. And in the end, Frog, through just finding order in chaos, being able to thread that needle just a little bit better, was able to barely eke out a victory over Yogg Saron here. A couple of teeny mistakes, a couple of slight outplays, and a lot of grit and a lot of tenacity. I think those are really the hallmarks here of our iOS champion.
And then coming up to the heartbreaking moment of the fourth race where Frog just goes a little bit too far to the left, and that is what brought it down to our final race. And he was thinking at this point, I'm not going to let this slip away from me. I've come so far, I can't let this go. And that is exactly what he did. He did not let Yogg Saron get much ahead at all. Tried to land on him right here, I'm pretty sure. Takes a slightly shorter route. And yeah, then Yogg Saron 360s loses a bit of speed there. And then he gets a little bit of a physics bug, I think, maybe.
Oh,
Did physics come into play here?
it kind of looked like it. He hit the ground, they sort of bumped up again, couldn't quite take the ramp like he wanted to, crashed into the wall, and unfortunate there for Yogg Saron. But Frog, again, able to keep composure through all of it, and coming out our champion after 5 hard-fought races. But let's be real, I have to give all the props in the world to Yogg Saron, because that could have gone either way. I have an interview with our champion, with Frog. Let's take a look. Hey, Frog, congratulations. You are our iOS Mobile Open champion for Asphalt 9 Legends. Congratulations. We've seen you at finals before, but this is your first victory here on our virtual big stage. How does it feel to be a Mobile Open champion?
It feels pretty nice, I would say. It's been a while, of course, since I've been in a competition to this scale. Of course, it's different online, but yeah, it feels nice to be able to, come in first place and pull it off in the finals, and a little bit relieved at the same time. Yeah.
I can't say that I blame you. Certainly going up against some really tough competition here in the Mobile Open. Was there ever a time in any of these races where you thought, I might not be winning this thing?
I definitely, like the very first race of the final battle, I just lost it at the very beginning of the race, and that's when I realized that I was up against some pretty tough competition. It was going to be hard to catch up, being 1-0 down. But and also like later on in the competition when Yog was getting pretty close to me, coming up on my tail, it was definitely like nerve-wracking throughout the entire finals, and it was very close, and there was no guaranteed winner at any point. So I think it was pretty much the entire finals that was pretty nerve-wracking.
I mean, to be fair, though, as a spectator, that's basically the best is what we can ask for. It's always neck and neck. If we knew who was going to win, there'd be no fun in watching. But no, it was certainly some really awesome matches here. And again, going forward, hopefully more mobile open competition for you. And one of the things we've really noticed this season was there's a lot of new faces sort of joining us here in the competition. How does it feel knowing that there's sort of this next crop of up-and-coming, really talented competitive racers hot on your heels?
It's actually like, it's pretty refreshing to see all these new competitors. I mean, of course, it's great to see competitors like Elite Joe and Zoma and people who we've known for years pretty much at this point competing in these competitions. But to see new blood in the competition also is very refreshing. It also brings us kind of like an ambiguity as well, because we have no idea how well they're going to perform on stage. It could be just another competitor, or they could just be a really strong contender for finals for the victory. We've seen that in the past with the Black Shark series and the Vodafone 5G Open. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, and it keeps the competition going, I'd say.
Yeah, always keep you on your toes. Never rest on those laurels. Got to keep moving forward. Got to keep getting better. And clearly you've been doing just that here, able to secure the win. So congratulations once again. Any final shout outs before I say goodbye?
I just want to, I don't think I would have been able to win this, I would say, if I wasn't able to practice with my teammates and close friends online. We kind of played some races offline together, talking about the different tracks, different strategies to take with the car. And without those like tips and tricks last minute, pretty much, I probably wouldn't have been able to secure the win. So I would really want to just give a shout out to my team and all my close friends online. Yeah, that's all.
Awesome. No, again, you out there racing on the track. There's a lot of work that goes into refining those routes and getting that checkered flag at the end of the day. So congratulations once again. Go celebrate your victory. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, you see it there. I like that response a lot. The new crop of talent coming up, refreshing. It is indeed, knowing there's a new series of racers looking to usurp some of these top dogs up there at the top. And one of those ones we have to keep an eye on, of course, is Elite Joe, who's going to be coming up next on our Android ladder. We're going to stop down for a few minutes here, head to a short break. When we come back, right into some more races, so don't go anywhere. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the ESL Mobile Open Finals. I'm Inverum, joined by Fearum, and we just witnessed some sick races. The iOS leaderboard, the ladder is concluded. Frog walking away as our champions, and Fearum, we got to witness some sick matches.
Yes, for sure. The first three went 2-0, but the final round was absolutely insane, with Frog and Yogg-Saron trading blows all the way through, but Frog pulling out the victory in that one and being crowned our iOS champion.
I have to give a lot of other props, though, to the racers who made it here to the top four. Yogg-Saron put up an incredible fight, and Quiet Riot and Eason in third and fourth place, respectively, certainly showed their chops as well. Some serious competition here on iOS. But now, let's change things up. Let's look toward Android. Let's look towards these next four competitors: Elite Joe, Daniver, and a couple of representatives from the old RPM. We got Proud Papa and Justin. A lot of familiar faces here in our top four.
For sure. And Elite Joe, you know, since he has won 3 so far, been in 5, you know, he is going to be one of the top contenders, I feel. But all of these other players, RPM Justin competed in some so far as well. And he has seen some very consistent runs all throughout. So I really think this is also going to come down to the wire. Probably just as close as the iOS ones, for sure.
I mean, 3 out of the 4 players have made it to our finals in past seasons. And of course, Elite Joe. I'll talk about him as we get into our very first race here up against Daniver, the winningest player in ESL Mobile Open history. Nobody has put up as many wins as Elite Joe, and he's looking to put on a repeat performance here, and Daniver's in his way. What can you do, Daniver? You got to be huge to take on a competitor who's this tough.
You truly do, and it looks like he is doing his very best, having gotten ahead around the final turns. Although Elite Joe pulled ahead at the very beginning, Daniver getting slightly in front, but then Elite Joe getting that shockwave and being able to get ahead again. And this one so far, I mean, this has got to be one of the closest races in one of the original matches in the bracket so far. And then Elite Joe just getting quite far ahead. He's taking those turns the best that he can. Even though Daniver got a little bit ahead at the beginning, Elite Joe is managing to stay ahead.
Yeah, but it's not by a lot, though. Daniver's still hot in his heels, and a lot of it came down to that beach section, taking a slightly different line around the rocks there, and Elite Joe getting a slightly lower line off of one of those ramps. And now it's all about conserving boost going around these corners here. Elite Joe is doing a great job of extending this lead as much as possible, though, and Daniver, bit of a struggle bus, needs to try and catch up, but Elite Joe is not giving him any openings.
Yes, Elite Joe is playing his absolute best. He knows that he has done amazingly in these before, but I'm sure he also knows that some of these new players, as Pulsar said, are just coming up out of the woodworks and being amazing racers, and he knows that he will have to play his very best to go up against them. But then Daniver having a little bit of trouble on the beach, maybe not going off with as much nitro as he could have there, getting a little bump on the ramp, and Elite Joe just absolutely flying through here, not making any mistakes at all. Very, very clean.
Yeah, I mean, this is just sort of the hallmark of Elite Joe. Elite Joe is sort of one of these. He'll take risks. He'll pull off the tricks, make them look good, make them look like they're not a risk. That's sort of what it's all about here, not being afraid to go for those crazy plays. Daniver has still been able to hold on relatively well, but I think it's sort of the bit of that mental game. It's once you lose your opponent, once they're no longer in your sight, and you have that thing to sort of aim for, to try and surpass, to try and supplant, it just gets a little bit tougher. As Elite Joe turning those final corners will take race number 1 here. Daniver looked really solid in some of those opening moments, but one small mistake let Elite Joe pass, and Elite Joe said, peace, we'll see you next time.
Yeah, Elite Joe was looking for any opportunity he could to get past after being passed in the beginning by Daniver, who took a very, very good line at the very beginning there. I mean, that really came down to the wire. But in the end, Elite Joe was able to take the victory. Daniver maybe not taking the best route at the very end there, but that is only the first race. We have possibly 2 more between them.
We do indeed, and this will be the next one. Daniver looking to take us to game number 3. Not afraid We go bumper to bumper with Elite Joe to start this off, but Elite Joe able to take a very slight lead here, maybe being a little bit more aggressive with the Nitro. And interesting, this is the same split that we saw Frog and Yogg Saron take before. Technically, in theory, Daniver should be having the faster line, but no! Elite Joe once again coming out ahead. So, I mean, Firam, are you maybe reconsidering which route is actually faster? This is twice now that the player that took the outside route has ended up ahead.
I might be. I mean, there is not that much difference, and I do know that the right route is a little bit trickier to pull off perfectly. So maybe it is better in these tournaments when it's real multiplayer and you cannot, you can't just play it over again. To take the route that is maybe slightly longer, but easier to do properly. Elite Joe did that. It definitely paid off for him as he is coming up, as they're both coming up toward the end of the first lap, with Elite Joe being a bit in the lead. But Daniver not too far behind, closer than he was in the previous race as well, as we head into the second lap. And it'll be interesting to see what routes they take this time around.
Yeah, let's see if Daniver does the same. Interesting. This time it's Elite Joe going on the inside. Everything is changing. All my expectations thrown out the window. And maybe now that Elite Joe, you're right. The outside route, maybe a little bit less risky, maybe slightly longer. But now that Elite Joe knows he's got the lead, he's more willing to sort of push.
He almost wrecked. And then Daniver was
did
out
wreck.
of the track, I think. Yeah, Elite Joe, he was on top of things there. He was going to go on his top, but he hit brake, saved it, and it paid off for him. Daniver not quite so lucky, coming toward the end of the second lap as they head into the last tunnel with the big turn around. And Elite Joe coming up to the finish line, not really much that can stop him at this point. Will he try anything crazy like Yogg Saron did? No, he doesn't. He takes it safely to the finish line to take the second race. And that's the first match. Daniver played very well, but Elite Joe just able to get those inches here and there all throughout. Even though taking very different routes, he was able to get it in the very first match.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, a couple moments there where players maybe could have made even bigger mistakes than we saw. Props to both of them for keeping it under control. Let's take a look at our leaderboard, though. Elite Joe is going to be advancing on to our finals. Daniver still has another shot for that podium with a third place matchup. Who will they go against, though? Bit of a clan takedown here, a club takedown, as RPM, Proud Papa, and Justin are going to be going toe-to-toe. And this is one I've been particularly excited for because both of these players are incredibly solid. We know how good these are. They are veterans in their own right. And, of course, part of RPM, which is one of the more well-known clubs in Asphalt 9 Legends. So let's not wait any longer. Let's go. Firam. Race number 2. Race number 1. Match number 2. Here we go. Let's go.
The RPM battle. I was looking forward to this the whole way through. And we see Justin getting a little bit ahead at the very beginning. Let's see how they take the turns and the Nitro versus the iOS people. And they do take both the yellow Nitro. Proud Papa taking a shorter line, almost catching up to RPM Justin, but they take slightly different routes there. He goes for the Nitro, whereas Justin goes for the ramp on the side. And it looks like both ways were nearly identical, as they are really just bumper to bumper and almost a wreck there in the middle. This is absolutely crazy. This is one of probably the more difficult tracks, and Proud Papa, he just flies by.
Hits the ramp, hits the shockwave, hits the lead, and Justin having a bit of a struggle there to get the Nitro back up where it needs to be, and his speed is just dying. I'm seeing it withering away, and Proud Papa's continuing to extend the lead, hitting a 360 there just to make sure he has enough boost to hit the shockwave off the ramp. And this is absolutely massive now as Justin's having a bit of a struggle in midair as well. Both these players, it's not the cleanest racing we ever seen, but I guess it's getting the job done.
Definitely so. And Proud Papa, there's a wreck in first place. And then RPM Justin takes the lead. I think Proud Papa was trying to go to the right, but got caught up on the little difference between the tracks there. And unfortunately, it caused him to wreck. And we see our first, real big upset. Well, maybe some of those ones with Frog and Yogg Saron were pretty close, but this one... going from first place to second just like that.
I mean, blink and you missed it. And that's why we talk about the idea of perfection with these races. And that's why we keep talking about players who are more willing to take the riskier strats, because that's what it can entail. You can have the best race the entire time, but if you stumble right before that finish line, it is all for naught. And just like that, Proud Papa in second place, watching this game number 1 slip away. Props to Justin, again, behind for a lot of this race, didn't let it get to his head, because that's the possibility that is looming over the head of every single player. The potential to wreck, just like Proud Papa was did right there. Oh my goodness, 2 wheels, 2 wheels, 2 wheels, 2 fine. All right, Justin takes game number 1.
And Justin holds it through the whole way. I wonder what he was thinking when he was behind. I bet he was thinking, I just got to continue to play my best. Something could happen. And it did. You know, it paid off for him in the end. Proud Papa, though, driving extremely well. Just that little, not even really a giant mistake on his part, the track. And unfortunately, did not turn out so well for him here.
I mean, despite the speedometer, this is a game of inches and not miles as we get into game number 2. I want everybody to appreciate the depth and nuance of that comparison. Anyway, let's get into it here. Justin, able to take that first race. What can they do now? Race number 2. Proud Papa's off to an early lead, but I expect nothing. It is not over till it's over.
It is certainly not. Proud Papa definitely taking the early lead. He wants to get ahead at the beginning, maybe frazzle Justin a little bit. You know, if you get ahead at the beginning, you might have a bit of a psychological advantage over your competitor just being in the lead. And he knows that he has to maintain it now if he wants to have a chance of moving on to the final rounds. But if Justin is able to catch up and take this one, he takes the match. But Proud Papa definitely not giving him any room. They are both seeming to be very good with the nitro efficiency, and we're just seeing some very clean racing here.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. Proud Papa has looked incredibly clean so far. Getting close to some of these walls, not losing any particular speed. We saw Justin wall ride a little bit earlier on to try and maintain it a little bit better around some of these corners, but Proud Papa's been able to do a great job with some of this nitro efficiency, bouncing off the top of these ramps. Look at a shockwave, Justin doing it just a touch sooner, but that's lap number 1 in the books, but no significant lead by any means. Proud Papa still very much within striking distance.
And lap number 2, we're coming into it with RPM Justin still on the heels of Proud Papa. Anything could happen at this point. He is probably hoping for something similar that happened in the first race, because that's kind of what it's looking like at this point. And then Proud Papa, though, not giving up that lead at all. I'm sure he is being extra careful to not run into a problem on the track like that. And one thing I've noticed, he is drifting a little bit more than Justin has. Justin has done a bit more of the perfect nitro around the turns. Proud Papa electing to drift and then shockwave on some more of them than I might expect, but it is paying off for him so far as we're coming up toward the end of the second lap here.
And Proud Papa not looking back, got that early lead and is continuing to just put up a solid performance here. I mean, I can't understate how clean this race has looked. No slight issues, no slight errors, no problems, no loss of speed. All perfection from start to finish, which means for the first time in one of these semifinal matches, we're going to an ace race.
That we are. And one thing I noticed was that Proud Papa took a safer line at the end there to guarantee that victory. That's something extremely cool that you can do in order to get there. Yeah, he
sidestepped that additional set of ramps. A lot of players have bounced from ramp to ramp, but instead he sort of just circumnavigated it, kept on a cleaner line. Well, not even necessarily a cleaner line, but one that would have less possibility of destruction. And destruction is very likely to happen here in this final race. As both players, we've seen how physical they can get on iOS. Let's see if Android will live up to it here as we get into race number 3, do or die. Who will advance on to our grand finals? Whose hope for being an ESL Mobile Open champion will continue to survive? And starting things off, it's Proud Papa with an early lead.
He certainly has. He used that nitro at the beginning, which was definitely to his advantage. RPM Justin going slightly wide on the first turn. They're both able to do their 360 off that ramp, and they are using just about as many speed tricks in the book on this track as they can. Both of them, because they know that the other one can do them. And since there is not much difference between them, they both have to, or Proud Papa really risks getting past at this point.
And I think this is the time when Proud Papa would love to just, rest on his laurels. I got the lead. I just need, again, the bare minimum in order to maintain it. Not against somebody as good as, so clean on the barrels. You have to push the envelope every single time. The second you give an inch, they will take that mile. And Proud Papa has not looked back, continued to maintain, and I would even say extend his lead.
Yes, that is absolutely true. Heading into the second lap, they take this turn the same way with the Perfect Nitro down the inside. Their racing lines, one thing I've noticed, have been very similar throughout this race. Both of their lines and their laps have been almost identical to each other. And that is why RPM Justin, he almost has an issue there, but he's able to hold it through. At some parts where they might have issues, they don't, and they're able to make it through. And I think Justin is catching up to Proud Papa. Look over there on the map. That little yellow dot, it's almost right inside the red one.
Yeah, Justin up and going to the wall to try and change up the line. He is right behind Proud Papa, barely maintaining this lead. We're on the second lap here. It all comes down to this. Can Justin pass him? It all comes down to these final few moments of the race. Looking for these additional lines. The shockwave comes through. Proud Papa continuing to maintain the lead. Goes high off the ramp. Looking to close this one out. Fear, but it's going to come down to the wire. It all comes down to this.
It is, and Proud Papa is able to go all the way through that, doesn't make any mistakes toward the end, is able to pull it completely through. And although Justin played extremely well, caught up to him throughout that race, but it was not quite enough, and Proud Papa takes this match. Absolutely great races from both of them.
And remember, this was a reverse sweep, not really a thing in a best of three. Proud Papa went down in game number 1, was able to come back 2 races in a row, took it all. Absolutely stellar. We have an interview with Proud Papa celebrating that win, looking towards the grand finals. Let's take a look. Hey, Proud Papa, thanks so much for taking the time to sit down and chat with me. Congratulations making it back here. Obviously, no stranger, we'll put it that way, to being here at the finals for the ESL Mobile Open. Talk to us a little bit, though, about how it's been competing this season.
It's been awesome. I mean, we had great races, switched the car up from the Lycan to the Porsche Club Sport. Times were very close. Tracks were awesome. It couldn't get any better. It was great.
Yeah, the competition every single season just seems like it keeps leveling up and up. And I think in part, a lot of that's due to the fact we have a lot of new racers, coming in and sort of challenging some of you veterans, some of the old guards. How is it seeing a lot of these new faces rising up through the ranks?
It's awesome. I mean, the more people that play, the better it is. I mean, you can train, you can just play for fun. I don't train specifically on specific tracks or anything. I just open it, enjoy the game, and play. Ended up being good at it. But the new people, that's great. I love seeing new names on the leaderboard. It's exciting. Makes it more, pressure on us to do better. It's great.
That was sort of implied there, this idea that you can never rest on your laurels with a game that's decided by tenths or hundredths of a second. And, sort of speaking about that, we talk about these new players, even talk about the idea that you can really just have a great time playing casually. If there are folks at home who are watching this who want to get more involved in competitive asphalt, how would you recommend they go about improving at the game?
There's career mode. You can do that, and you can practice on any tracks, basically with any car. Multiplayer's a really great way of getting better, because then you're also inputting the other live players into it, and that'll be more challenging on you. That'll improve your skills.
For sure. It's always a great idea to sort of practice how you end up playing, going up against some head-to-head competition, feeling solid. But I have to say, quick interview here. Wanted to get your thoughts, and thanks so much for chatting with me, and best of luck in the races.
Hey, thank you very much. It was great. Thanks for having me.
All smiles for Proud Papa after match number 1, and why not? Because you're going match number 2, I should say. As you're going into our grand finals, let's take a look at our bracket. The reason I'm thinking that's because we still have another match to play for him. Of course, that is our 3rd place match with Danover and Justin, who are going to be going toe to toe. And then we get to witness the battle between Proud Papa and Elite Joe. That is going to be epic. Both of these races are going to be epic. Android has certainly delivered so far.
Oh, they certainly have. And Daniver versus RPM Justin, going to be a crazy one. Daniver pulling out that very early lead against Elite Joe in that first race, just unable to maintain it throughout, though. And then Justin being very consistent all the way through, just a little behind. Both very good players. And I think this one is going to be close as well. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of the same here.
Absolutely. Let's get into it. No further ado. I think RPM Justin probably has to be the favorite going into it, just given the history, of this player in the competition. But Daniver, some of those things we've seen from him so far, I wouldn't rule anything out, especially given the fact that he was able to get position on that ramp. And Justin, was that cancel on the barrel intentionally, you think?
I don't think so. I think he went a bit too high, touched the wall, wasn't able to get the barrel, and then also Justin didn't go up the barrel at the very beginning, and Daniver did, giving him a very early lead. And then, whoa, what was that? He went the wrong way on the barrel? I don't know how that happened. But then Justin takes a cleaner line through the two big buildings there. Whenever I go through that part, it's tough. That is one of the toughest parts on this track to do cleanly. Justin hits the bus, but didn't really slow him down, and he is right behind Proud Papa, not going to let him get away, and closing in.
I mean, you're looking for that near miss, and look, don't ask me how physics work when a car can take out a bus. We're not questioning these things. We have a little bit of a desire to go fast, as it were, as Justin's still hot on the heels. And yeah, that's slight. Again, Daniver's early game aggression. I have no other way to state it other than that. Not afraid to just get on the right line and fight for it tooth and nail. Paying off for them in big ways. They've been able to maintain the lead. The same thing we saw against Elite Joe, except this time RPM Justin hasn't been able to take it back with a slightly different look in terms of line. Let's see if maybe this time he can get it done.
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to try as much as he can. One thing I have noticed is that neither of the players is going for the risky riding on the median in the middle at the beginning, as we saw in the events, because that is something that would not really gain you too much time and could lose you a lot if you do it incorrectly. So both players in this case taking safer routes, with Daniver again getting that very early lead, something that we have seen him do previously, and something that has typically paid off throughout the event. Not every time, though. Justin could definitely still bring it back, as he is right on the heels of Daniver.
Yeah, Justin did miss that yellow boost in the middle of the long S section, though. And that's little things like that you need to get when you're trying to claw back a deficit like this. About a second lead right now for Daniver, who's just looking to close this out. Hits the shockwave, looking towards these next series of ramps, coming around these final turns. The finish line is in sight, and Daniver is going to take race number 1.
And
again, I had an expectation
gets
coming
it.
into this.
Yeah, not mine either.
if Daniver was playing against anybody but Elite Joe, would have been interesting to see. Maybe this final race would have looked a little bit different here. But ooh, spiciness in our 3-4 race here. Justin's got his work cut out for him if he wants to try and take us to a race number 3. Let's go, Pyram. Let's get back into it.
He definitely does, and Justin, being the great player that he is, he gets pushed out of the yellow nitro by Daniver. Daniver is not going to let Justin... Oh, no, Justin. What? He goes a little bit too far to the right. So on that barrel there's a wall, and if you hit it too hard, you will wreck. You have to go low, but you can't go that low. But it's not that he's not that far behind. He's still catching up even with a wreck. This could still go either way.
I'm floored. This is the best recovery from a wreck I think we've ever seen. It's like he didn't wreck at all, but Daniver, oh my, the back and forth from one ramp to the next. Clean aerial performance. Justin, though, still hot on the heels, and I'm floored. I'm floored, Pyram. If he hadn't have wrecked off the start of this, they would be literally side by side. They'd be looking into each other's windows.
Absolutely, Paul, and it could still come down to that as Daniver runs out of nitro while RPM Justin still has it. They both go for the risky play on the wall, both taking it extremely well. I wonder if they're going to go for it on the second lap. That'd be quite interesting to see. Daniver, again, running out of nitro a bit, and Justin is catching up. This could be a real comeback.
He's primed to pass him, and that's what we're seeing right now. Are you out of your mind? But Daniver underneath. Oh, my goodness. A slightly better line, and they're side by side.
Right next to each other.
Goodness. What was I saying about looking in each other's windows? But somehow, some way, Daniver's been able to take the lead right on back.
But then Justin catching up really close to each other. Man, that was an amazing comeback from Justin, still right on the heels. Taking a little bit of a wide racing line, which is to get the second barrel here. Sometimes you have to go a little bit slower earlier to go a lot faster at a later bit in the track. And that is what they are both doing here. Both taking the same barrels. RPM Justin going a bit lower with Shockwave. Ooh, I thought he was about to try to land on him, but Daniver still maintaining that lead.
Yeah, Justin took a slightly incorrect line off the back of that jump, didn't hit the blue bottle. When he hit that landing, Daniver was able to do so. What looked like for a second, Justin was able to pass. As now Daniver continued to try and extend this lead, taking it all the way towards the end, looking for a 2-0. But no, it's so close! But Daniver still gets it! A 2-0 finish there at the end, but that was so close to a game number 3. Justin, a hair's breadth from catching up.
Proud Papa hit something at the very end of the race, and it almost cost him the victory there. They were super close, but he does take the victory there. Again, very close races, and definitely props to RPM Justin for that. But Proud Papa gets
Yeah, I mean, but both of them ended up getting some sort of victory there. Daniver taking the 3rd place, RPM Proud Papa onto the finals. So RPM still being represented up there, I should note. Props to Justin as well, though. Despite the 4th place finish, absolutely incredible races from all the players involved. We're going to head to a short break. When we come back, it's our grand finals for Android here for the ESL Mobile Open Asphalt 9 Legends. Do not go anywhere. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the ESL Mobile Open Finals. I'm Inverum, joined by Fearum, and we're here for the grand finals for Asphalt 9 Legends for Android. And I can't say enough good things about the races so far today, Fearum. They have been so good.
They certainly have. I mean, back with iOS and now on Android, all the races have been absolutely amazing. We've seen our third place match, and now all that is left is the finals for Android. Elite Joe, longtime veteran, going against RPM Proud Papa, who definitely did some amazing racing against RPM Justin there. I think Elite Joe might be the favorite of a lot, but I would definitely not underestimate RPM Proud Papa in the slightest.
Absolutely not. And as we get into our first race here, I want to talk about how both of these players they've been able to get here. It's come down to a combination of clean lines, solid tricks, and consistency of execution. Both players have shown they can do that. Both players have shown they can go toe-to-toe, neck and neck, and it's all going to come down to who can just be a little bit bigger here today.
And neither of them is really, neither of them is letting the other one gain much ground, but then Proud Papa hits a truck. Those darn trucks, right? Elite Joe able to take the lead because of that. An early lead, which RPM Proud Papa has usually gotten, but not quite so in this one. We're again on Nevada, which has some pretty crazy tricks that you can do in the tunnel here. Elite Joe does, Proud Papa does not decide to as much. I think that, he knows that this isn't the end. If he loses this one, it's going on. And so that's why I don't think we usually see quite as much kind of aggressive racing in some of the first few of the final rounds.
Of course, I want to remind everybody at home, this is a best of 5, which means it's the first 3 wins. They've got a little more flexibility, a little more race to work with. As we see in Proud Papa attempting to get back some of this lead, but I'm definitely noticing what you're mentioning as well. It doesn't seem like Proud Papa is going for nearly as many of these risky maneuvers, where it seems like every small bump in the road, Elite Joe is trying to bump into, trying to get that little bit of additional airspeed, trying to maximize the time. It's like he's in a time trial himself right now, and basically running with his OG strategy. He was really the first one. Get that early lead and never look back.
For sure. I remember seeing that in previous seasons. He's doing it again today. And I really think what you said about playing it kind of like just a time trial. I feel like that's how he plays a lot of these races, just almost pretending the other player isn't there, because that can help with the nerves, and that means he can get him in the right mindset to just do the best that he can and maybe take a few more tricks than might be good in some cases. However, in this case, completely working out for him, as he is still in the lead coming up to the twisty parts of this track.
And it's funny that we mentioned that, because he even opted not to do some of those tricks in the tunnels there that we saw in lap number 1. Instead, he'd actually take more of a similar route to what Proud Papa was in fact doing. But look at the way he takes these turns. He does not drift more or less than he needs to, down to the millisecond. The muscle memory on these controls, the ability to take these turns, absolutely flawless. We're heading into the last few seconds of this race. Elite Joe is going to take it in style. And again, I've talked to Elite Joe, a lot over the last few years. He's been in a lot of these competitions, won a few of them. And one of the things he always talks about, Firam, is how practice is so important. I feel like his practice is really paying off here.
Oh, definitely. That's exactly what I was going to say. It looks like he just knows exactly how to take every turn, where to go, what nitro bottles to take, what not to take. He has practiced these every single track, I feel like, over and over again, so that if one comes up in here, he's like, oh, I know how to do that. And then 100%. He does it. He executes it flawlessly.
And I think that's really just sort of a hallmark to that sheer veteran status. You've seen it before. You've been here before. You know what it's like to race when you're ahead, and you know what it's like to race when you're behind. And again, I like, part of me actually thinks there's less pressure sometimes on the players who are in second place. If you can still see your opponent, you're like, I just have to pass you. There's a very clear thing what you need to do next. But when you're out in the lead and you can't necessarily, how far behind are they? How close are they? Like, that's the pressure that's constantly on your shoulders. The pressure not to mess up. We'll see if Proud Papa can do this here as he takes that early lead.
As we're into the second race of the final match, best of 5, first to 3 wins, and Proud Papa is taking that early lead. They both take the route going a little bit too wide though. Proud Papa not getting the barrel, Elite Joe getting it, and so catching up a bit around these turns. And as you said, Elite Joe, he knows how to be in front, he knows how to be behind as well, and now his goal is just to catch up and pass Proud Papa. Proud Papa knows this too though. His goal is to just stay ahead, do anything he can to do that.
And they're basically doing exactly the same tricks, exactly the same maneuvers, basically identical in terms of nitro. Wow, this is neck and neck right now. Both of these players, if you were to overlay their feeds, they would be one vehicle right now, creating this ultimate purple car of destruction. As we do see Elite Joe, though, looking to try and maybe do something a little bit different here. We'll go for the 360 to try and gather just a little bit more nitro, and is trying to close this gap, and it is so close.
And Proud Papa is still just that little bit ahead heading into the second lap. Right now, they're almost at the same place as they were in the first lap. But then Elite Joe takes the turn a little bit closer to the inside. Proud Papa almost wrecks on the barrel, but again is able to save it. And Elite Joe pulls ahead just a little bit, but not more than a few car lengths difference. Both of them taking the high barrels, Proud Papa getting more of them so he can keep a bit more nitro, but coming into the tunnel, I mean, they're doing almost exactly the same things, Paul.
That's exactly what I was saying in the first lap. Nearly identical. Ooh, going for 360, though, to try and get some... more boost
and Proud
onto this
Papa
next jump.
passes.
Absolutely solid, but Elite Joe is forcing him into the wall. You pass me and I'll put you in the ground. That's what Elite Joe's all about, the killer instinct. No clean racing here. You give him that opportunity, he will go for the throat and go for the win. Proud Papa almost took it back, and Elite Joe just smacked him down. No, senor. He will have none of it.
Yes, that was crazy. Elite Joe, I mean, he did not want to get past at the end. That was completely intentional, and he knew that he could do that and secure that second race, because now he only has to win one more. Proud Papa has to win 3 more. But as we could see, he has driven quite well. He nearly beat Elite Joe at the end there, but Elite Joe just coming in with that knockdown. As we head into our third race.
Both players starting things off. Ooh, maybe looking to get a little bit aggro as Elite Joe. Not hesitant to use that nitro right off the bat. Zipping to a pretty significant lead already there. Was able to get a little bit of a better line to start that one off and just accumulate that nitro just a little bit better, getting that boost up and going. But like you said, Proud Papa, that's exactly what they need to do. The reverse sweep, it's all about this. 3 races in a row, can they get it done? Or will Elite Joe put this away in a 3-0?
And Proud Papa we see doing some of those 360s to do the floaty drift around the turns. I don't know how effective that is in a slower car such as this one. And I wonder if that might be one reason why he's fallen a little bit behind. I'm not entirely sure about that, but Elite Joe is in the lead at this point, running a little bit behind on the nitro though. Although, the thing is, if you're able to keep just that little bit of nitro to go up the ramps, to keep your speed, you're pretty much good to go. And again, both of them following almost exactly the same racing lines. Both these players know exactly where to go.
I'm noticing a small thing there, like Elite Joe was able to get the shockwave off, whereas Proud Papa was not able to maintain that for longer as Elite Joe, and still basically maintain near identical nitro efficiency. Those small, tiny things, eking out those few kilometers per second more, able to keep that top speed just a little bit longer. It all makes a difference when the players are just this good, and Proud Papa needs to try and claw it back, but this lead hasn't changed since the first 10 seconds of the race.
It certainly has not. Elite Joe knows exactly what he's got to do, and he's just going to keep on doing it. We have really seen no major mistakes from Elite Joe so far at all. He's practiced time and time again. He's had plenty of experience in the previous seasons, and as you can see, it's definitely paying off for him. Although, as we can see also, Proud Papa doing some amazing racing as well. Both of them picking up pretty much all of the nitro that they can, and Elite Joe still, though, in the lead here.
A slightly different line around this building here. Proud Papa not able to get the yellow boost there, though, so I'm not sure if that actually is gaining him much speed. Was able to hit the shockwave there, though, just a little bit better, but Elite Joe able to do the same, and Elite Joe not looking back, looking clean in race number 3, and looking to just close this one up here in our grand finals for the Android leaderboard. That's going to be it. The ladder is done and dusted. And once again, Elite Joe is your ESL Mobile Open champion here for the Android platform.
Yes, yeah, he has had so much experience, and he brought it back again for his, fourth win, which is kind of crazy to see, but he completely deserves it. Although, of course, we have to give props to all of the other players who played extremely well. And that second race there, that was heartbreaking at the end almost.
I would have been very curious to see what this would have looked like if the RPMs had been swapped in that semifinal, how Daniver would have performed up against Proud Papa. I think that would have been very interesting because, again, Proud Papa and Justin, they were neck and neck, but Daniver looked solid in our third place match. Maybe could have been a top 3 finish there. But in the end, Elite Joe facing on all comers and 100% earning that number 1 spot. I don't think you can question that. Let's take a look back at these 3 races, Firum. They were nail biters.
They certainly were. Elite Joe gets an early lead in Nevada, and then Proud Papa is able to, unfortunately, he was trying to get ahead, unfortunately hit the truck, wasn't able to. Elite Joe, they go through the tunnel, taking their speed tricks, both doing very well at them. Nevada, the newest track to come to Asphalt 9, but already very well known by so many of these players. And coming up toward the end of the second lap, taking the final turns just about as well as they possibly can. And Elite Joe goes off this barrel. Now, he is just keeping the momentum all the way through to the finish line and finishes the first race in first place. Then entering the second race, we saw Proud Papa go a little bit wide on that turn, allowing Elite Joe to catch up to him. And then coming into the second lap, we see both players just very, very close to each other. Then Elite Joe just taking the inside, able to gain that slight lead there.
And it was all about that, forcing Proud Papa from being able to get the clean barrel. Eventually, though, we see Proud Papa pull off this lead. We're thinking it's all going to be over, but then Elite Joe just says no. I mean, it's like he was holding that back the whole time. He's like, don't make me use this.
I feel like he definitely was. Yeah, as we go into the third race, where we saw Elite Joe again get the early lead, as we've seen time and time again, has been an indicator, and he's able to take shorter racing lines throughout it. Proud Papa, though, not making really many mistakes at all. It's just Elite Joe is doing so many little things just perfectly, and he is able to take the third, and we go 3-0 in the final Android match. Elite Joe takes the championship on Android. Crazy races here, Paul. This has been insane.
And it's so interesting, and it kind of reminds me of one of my favorite Star Trek quotes, which is, it's possible to make no mistakes and still lose. And I feel like that's kind of exemplified here a little bit, because Proud Papa really didn't make many mistakes, a couple of small things, but it was just Elite Joe today just being that little bit better. And I have an interview with the myth, the man, the legend himself, Elite Joe. So let's take a look.
Hey, Joe, thank you so much for joining us. First and foremost, congratulations once again. You are an ESL Mobile Open champion for Android. I have to ask, how do you keep doing it season over season? How do you find yourself in the finals? How do you win?
Pues la verdad es un largo camino, ¿no? Primero que nada, es complicado, ya que uno tiene que tener pues buen pensamiento en cómo llevar todos los entrenamientos, cómo prepararse, cómo tener la mente clara y certera hacia lo que voy a hacer y realizar, y obviamente pues ir hacia el triunfo, ¿no? Prepararse ya sea mentalmente y también pues físicamente, ¿no? Estar entrenando mucho todos los días, literalmente.
Absolutely, and you've clearly been able to do that season over season. And talk to us a little bit about that, how you've been able to take playing Asphalt, as sort of, competitively or as a fan, and you've actually been able to make a career out of this. Tell us more about that.
Bueno, pues como temporada tras temporada, como siempre uno preparándose, ya sea cuando sale una nueva temporada, tengo que estar ahí obviamente entrenando con apoyo de mi familia, obviamente, también de mi novia. Aquí puede ser mi ciudad, la verdad que tengo mucho apoyo ya de muchas personas, aquí que yo soy de Navojoa, Sonora, México, que la verdad que me han ayudado bastante y tras temporada, siempre entrenando. Y aparte también, pues como siempre lo he dicho, estando pues también igualmente en mis estudios y de igual manera, pues bueno, aparte también sacar un poco de diversión también de esto, porque a mí me encanta, la verdad, estar aquí y siempre estando, echándole todas las ganas para seguir pues con éxito en todas las competencias y seguir adelante. No sé, yo por mí esto ha sido la verdad un gran cambio, pero a la vez hay que acostumbrarse y yo voy a seguir aquí eh, jugando y luchando por conseguir pues más victorias que siguen más adelante. Yo lo sé.
Well, that's certainly awesome to hear. And speaking of these competitions, we're continuing to see new players, up and coming players, really making a name for themselves here as well. What do you think about this new wave of competition? These new rivals that are on your heels?
Pues como siempre lo he dicho, yo sé que siempre hay nuevos jugadores tras temporada, pero siempre uno tiene que estar actualizándose, estarse preparando, siempre obviamente salen cosas nuevas, uno se tiene que actualizar, estar siempre, pues como siempre lo he dicho, pues entrenando día y día, literalmente yo juego casi todos los días. Pero sí, uno tiene que estar ahí siempre entrenando día a día, viendo cosas nuevas. Pero sí, la verdad que sí está complicado. Cada vez la competencia está más reñida y salen nuevas personas, pero uno siempre con la mente en alto. La verdad que siempre yo he dicho de que la mente es muy importante en esto principalmente. Pero hay que echarle muchas ganas y si en verdad quieres lograrlo, pues hay que luchar por ello y hay que conseguirlo.
Well, clearly it's worked out for you here and through many seasons in the past. Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations once again on another championship.
No, no hay de qué, a ustedes por siempre también estar aquí, también siempre con buena administración y todo, y sobre todo, pues aquí ya saben que yo seguir aquí, seguir con todos y primero que nada, pues igualmente con toda la gente que siempre me ha estado apoyando, también mis seguidores, que también le mando un saludo a todos y por mí, ya saben, aquí seguiré estando.
Big ups there from Elite Joe at the end, and me sitting there pretending I speak Spanish. Great stuff, all in all. Fantastic interview there. And yeah, I mean, we talked about it in the races fair, and he talks about it there. For him, it's all about the prep. And I think you can't deny hard work pays off.
It certainly does. And that's one thing that we've seen throughout these esports competitions with Asphalt 9. He, in particular, has practiced so much. It's really paid off for him. And I think so many of the other players have also done so much prep. I mean, we heard that before from Frog saying that he'd raced with his teammates, which is a really good way to do it. And just overall, I mean, this season, we've seen some crazy races. We saw some very close finishes in both final matches. And I mean, I just think that this has definitely been one of the best ones so far.
I think so too. I think the zero hesitation from players when it comes to just, I need to go for a knockdown here. I need to take my opponent off the board. And again, I say this is a super biased, non-competitive racer, just as a caster, just as a fan. I love it when players aren't afraid to throw a little elbow out there. You know, I grew up watching hockey and stuff, you know, put them into the boards. And that's what we saw here for sure. Players not afraid to have that killer instinct when they knew it could get them the W. And I think that's really what we saw there. The checkered flag ran through, but no, I can't disagree at all. These are definitely some of the best races we've seen yet.
They certainly were. And just all throughout there, it's been a blast. And they all played their very best. I can definitely tell you that. And I completely agree with what you said about the knockdowns. You know, when you're in a competition like this and you might as well. You know, because there's a lot on the line there. And Elite Joe did it, I think, at the perfect time.
Yeah, I mean, again, it sort of felt like that was, you've activated my trap card. And he had that in the back pocket. for when he needed it, and the second Proud Papa put himself in a position. Or I should say, at the end there, gosh, it was just, yeah, it was just exciting to see. But you know what? If you want to make sure you don't miss out on any future races, any future competitions, follow us on social media, !social in the chat. There will be more Asphalt 9 Legends in the future here for ESL Mobile, and you are not going to want to miss out. If you haven't tried the game either, I highly recommend checking it out. It is a ton of fun. We've done, activations and stuff at events in the past where we've had players come up and try it, and it's so fun watching people pick up the phone for the first time and actually race with it. And it's been really, really cool to see different people just grasp it instantly. And that's definitely why it's, I think, probably one of my favorite games to watch as a whole here as part of the ESL Mobile program, because it's just so intuitive to pick up.
It really is. And I think that's one of the things that people really enjoy about it. And one of the things that I really enjoy about it. I mean, it takes a while to gain that skill, but it's pretty simple to just pick up and play. And it's so fun that way.
100%. And if you're looking to up your game, you saw a flash there on the screen. Check out my boy Furum over on YouTube if you want to up the game to the next level. And speaking of game, this isn't the only one we've got for you today. Asphalt 9 Legends is in the books. We put a bow on it, have ourselves some champions. I'm going to say goodbye to you, Furum. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, PUBG Mobile. 16 teams will enter, and only one will leave as your champion. Back in a few.